Hey everyone, welcome back to the Visually Stunning Movie Podcast. I am Mark. That's Ryan. Hi Ryan.
Hello.
Um, I am playing catch up on films that I missed because I was laid up and or out of town. The first one it came out, I believe, 2 weeks ago. From the World of John Wick, Ballerina. Directed by Len Wiseman and starring Ana de Armas with some extended cameos from John Wick himself, Keanu Reeves. Ian McShane pops up, which is always nice. Lance Reddick shows up, which is nice yet depressing.
Yeah.
Norman Reedus pops up. One of the things you and I, Ryan, have always liked about the John Wick universe is how, since the first one, subsequent films have opened up that universe for us.
Yeah.
They made it bigger every movie. So now this is a film that steps outside the John Wick world or the John Wick corner of that universe, but remains in the overall function of the universe. Do you think this is without talking about the film yet, do you think this was a good idea to do, or do you think that this is a John Wick phenomenon?
No, I think it's a good idea. I think obviously you're going to have to, I guess the thing that is a little troublesome about this, and before we dive into the film itself, this little background, I guess, is that the majority of this script was written as a non John Wick universe story. And I think that that's not the way that you go about things generally.
Generally speaking, I would agree. It's to force something into a world it was not made for or conceived for.
Yeah. And so I think if you're going to do this, and I am very open to this, first of all, involve the people who have made it. As it turns out, there was the spin-off television series that apparently none of the real creative minds were allowed to be involved with because the studio decided they knew what made it work. And so they were going to go and make and do their thing.
Studios.
Yeah. And so I think there's some things you do have to, if you're going to be doing an expanded version of this universe, is you do need to involve the people that were responsible for that universe. Obviously, the original writer hasn't been involved after the third film, but we will be getting another Nobody film from him. But at least you have to have some rooted connection to the originals. So, in general, yes, I'm very open to the idea of having a John Wick universe. Although it is strange that it's being built around a character that is dead. So
do we know that he's dead?
Well, I don't know.
I'm talking John Wick 5 and
I know, but anyway,
and one who is presumed dead. He is Shane.
There
dead,
you go.
You will.
Yeah. Anyway. But no, I think in general, no, I'm completely open to the idea of exploring that world more, from a different perspective. The question, of course, would be, does this film actually do that? Or, but we can dive into that as we go along.
Yeah. So I agree with you. I think that it's a universe worth exploring. It is that there's so many layers and so many things they can do. But you're right. It has to be, we talk about internal logic. And we talked about that through the first 4 Wicks. Even though they made it bigger, they always stayed consistent to what had come before.
Yeah.
So if you're going to go outside of that, you can't contradict those as well. So if you're gonna again, so again, you're right. I didn't realize this was kind of a shoehorned project.
Yeah, yeah,
That's a red flag. Depending on how much alteration they made. So I mean,
yeah.
because really, if you took this out of Wick, you've got Red Sparrow, you've got
Yes.
you've got the Black Widow standalone. It's not necessarily an original concept.
No, but I mean, neither was John Wick necessarily.
Not necessarily. It's all in the execution. So and the world building.
Yeah.
So let's talk about Ballerina then. Uh, can I just say though, I was amazed, and tell me if I'm wrong. We got to the end of the movie, and I turned to my wife, and I said, "We didn't get any credits until till the end credits.
Yeah.
They just started the movie and ran.
Yeah.
It was very Star Wars, but without a crawl. So yeah, it was very George Lucas. So that was weird, or it wasn't weird. It was just interesting. I kept waiting for it to break, and it never did. 2 hours and 4 minutes. So not overly long.
No.
But it felt long. I just kept feeling like they were never, like every encounter, every scene just felt over long. I mean, it's not like we're opposed to long fight scenes. I mean, John Wick had some incredibly long fight scenes. In 4, that overhead apartment fight is just, it's ridiculous. But in this, it feels. I don't even know why. It's not because Ana de Armas can't do action. She's doing it fine.
I think it actually comes down to Len Wiseman, and as a director, Len is actually decent. But is he as inventive and as experimental? Is he as creative? The underworld films,
The first couple.
that he was, primarily responsible for. They're good. I think.
The first couple are great.
Some people dismiss them as just genre fodder, but I actually enjoyed them. But were they incredibly inventive? And I don't know that they were. I think that they were stylized. I think they were, well done, but were they revolutionary? And I think that's part of a problem is with the John Wick films is they were to a certain extent. And the fact that they were able to keep them feeling that way for 4 films is actually pretty remarkable, because when you think of The Matrix, which was equally as revolutionary, I don't know that they were able to sustain that sense of newness throughout what has turned into four films.
Yeah.
So I think you are working with a director who, quite honestly, isn't a bad director, and it wasn't a bad choice. But I think it is a step down. You're working with a script that was manipulated to fit into this world. And I don't know that this does any additional world building, really.
No. That's actually one of my complaints, is that it's set in the Ruska Roma.
Yeah.
With Angelica Houston running all of that, but it never really feels like we learn more than we already did.
Yeah. There were reshoots that we know of. Which would not necessarily a problem. It happens in all films, but I think that that's where the Wick character got inserted, which should have been, if they were going to do this, that probably should have been in the original draft. I mean, there's just things along the way that I guess they wanted to get this done so quickly. They had this script. It was by the person who had co-written the last John Wick film. They, yes, does it look like a good opportunity? And yes, but again, you go back to this idea of if you're, you know, when you have a world, and the world and the detailing of the world and the complexity of the world is the thing, or at least a major part of the thing.
Yep.
I think we also realize how much Keanu Reeves is part of that as well. Watching this film, his being there, his persona is very important to this film. It'll be interesting to see what Donnie Yen's film ends up looking like.
Yes, the
Um,
Kane spinoff.
yeah, because I don't know that Wick is involved in that, but I also think that Donnie Yen is what an extraordinary actor.
He might be able
Um,
to exert some influence.
yes, and he's
Yeah.
directing, and I'm really not worried about that. And it's
Yeah.
I just, let's be honest here. I don't think Ballerina is a bad movie.
I don't think it's a bad movie either.
I think there's some neat stuff in it. The flamethrower scene is pretty insane.
But
Um,
long.
it is long, yeah,
Again, it feels like they're like, this is really good. Let's just keep going.
yeah, and
You
I think
start with
that,
it a little bit and then you end with the water fire thing, but
yeah,
there's just a lot and a lot and a lot. And it's just like you're ruining the novelty of it. And because a lot of John Wick is also novelty.
yes,
Um,
because we ever seen a fire, flamethrower scene like this, and no, we really haven't.
right.
But then now we really have, and we've seen a lot of it.
Yeah.
So, no, I think generally speaking, it's a good movie. But I think that it is missing some of that spark um, that made John Wick an exceptional for films.
Correct. I
So
do not disagree at all.
yeah, I mean, and it's not Anna's fault, or I love the casting.
Yeah.
Um,
There's
you
like
know,
I said, it's hard to pinpoint. Nothing fell down. There's not, you can't point to one thing and go, that's the problem.
yeah,
But yeah, it could have been so much better. I think there's a tighter edit of what we have,
mm,
or there's a tighter edit and more background into the chancellor's organization. Gabriel Byrne. Oh my God, he plays such a
sure,
great villain, doesn't he?
yeah,
I
yeah,
love Gabriel Byrne. But it's like, it's not really, it's just kind of this weird, not really defined. It's like, is it outside of the world that's being run by the table? Or is it under the table, but kind of like the redheaded stepchild? Or, what is the organization from Wanted?
yeah,
The assassins or whatever that group is, with Morgan Freeman and Angelina Jolie, whatever group that was. It feels like, but you never really get into it, and it's just like, just we need more to hang on that. So it's like, again, it doesn't kill it, but you're just like, you got to give us a little bit more reason to give a crap.
yeah,
So it's that was disappointing. I love that Norman Reedus barely shows up, but and I love Hollywood. By the way, he's in it, but he's not in it as much as you might think.
yeah,
And there's so many movies like that now where it's just like, oh, I hate that crap. I hate that crap so much. It's like, don't pump them up as like, this is a Norman Reedus film. It is not. He's in it. That's fine. But yeah, but there's a lot of dynamics in here that could have been explored further. Not like super deep, but it's like, give us a little bit more, a little bit more. I mean, even in the first John Wick, you are 100%, you absolutely understand why the car and why the dog are so important. Even though it's a car and a dog.
yeah,
But you absolutely understand it. There's no question that happens and everyone looks and goes, yep. It's, when he gets the call, the bad guy gets the call from Aurelio, the car guy. And he goes, I heard you hit my son. Yes. Well, he stole John Wick's car and killed his dog. Oh,
yeah.
it's like the audience understands that completely. It's like, oh, So, but you got to give us those. If you're going to short it, you got to compress it enough to still give us what we need
Yeah.
to care. And that's, again, so a lot of this is just development. It's not that what we have is bad, it's that what we have is not enough. And that's the disappointing part. They could do a sequel, they can do another spinoff, but at least, pick something from, I mean, they kind of tied in. Like I said, I didn't realize this was, again, like a repurposed project.
Yeah.
But this ties into Wick from the beginning of 3. Her character is the one on stage when he is asking for help, even though it's a different actress apparently. But that's the jumping off point, or the initial tie-in.
Yeah.
To the Wick universe. You have to go back to the Wick universe and not shoehorn a story back into it, but find the thing, the word, the phrase, the person, the event. Okay, where can we build from that? And if you can, that's fine. And if you can't, find another one. But you have to be able to, it has to be organic. And again, that's what I really enjoyed about the Wicks, is that everything felt like a natural extension of what we had seen before. So like I said, you're right. This isn't a bad movie at all. It's just not as good as it could have been. And again, it could have been the germination is what cost them.
Yeah. And, and I understand the need and want to get a film out. And this film ultimately still took longer to get out because they had to tweak it and go back and try to get it right. And I think that, if you had gotten it right first by just writing a script that was entirely of that world, I think you actually end up saving money. I think you save time. You get the film that you want.
Were they shooting this film as a not Wick project, or was it just the script that was a not Wick project?
It was the script was a not Wick, and they saw it as something that would fit into the world. And again, it's because the writer had written this, and I don't know all the nuances behind the scenes and whatnot, but I just think in general, that's not the way you want to go about things in a very world-based franchise. Because the world that it was written for is not the same world, it's always going to not click quite right, and you're going to miss opportunities. And there's just so many things that it's just not a good idea.
No.
And it never has been. And and it wasn't as if the idea that this had was so unique that it had to be done. It's somewhat generic, unfortunately. So there were things that were against this film from the get-go, and that's not really where you want to start a film, particularly one that's existing within a beloved franchise at this point. So I think there were mistakes made, and hopefully they can learn from those mistakes. I don't think this has done the amount of money at the box office that anyone hoped it would. And I don't exactly know why that is. It's not bad enough that I would tell people not to see it.
No, not at all.
In fact, it's if you like the Wick films, it's a reasonably good film. But for whatever reason, it hasn't caught on like the particular last Wick film did.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I'll predict the headlines in another month and a half when this winds up on Max. The underperforming John Wick spinoff slays on streaming or whatever. That's what they're going to say, because it's going to do great numbers because people can just fire it up at home.
It probably will, yeah.
And so there's going to be headlines like that, like there always are. So again, that's not a bad. Ballerina is not a bad movie.
No,
at all.
And I would be happy to see a sequel, but if you're going to do a sequel, please build it organically. Build it, figure out parts of the world that we haven't seen, or see it from a new perspective, that sort of thing. Because having familiar faces in it is obviously needed. to a certain
Yes.
extent. I think they made good decisions, but I just think it just came from the wrong place,
Yeah.
and they need to be more careful about it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So there you go. That is from the, what are they calling it? From the World of John Wick, Ballerina. Longest title ever. Just call it Ballerina. Be done with it.
Yeah.
So there you go. It's not bad at all. If you're a fan of the world, go ahead and check it out. We've got other movies to talk about. We've got other movies coming up to see, and we will be doing that. But until we do, don't forget to like us and follow us and share us on social media. Go to the website, vsmoviepodcast.com, where you'll find links to all the written stuff, all the audio stuff. And if it winds up on YouTube, there'll be links there as well, where you can go right to YouTube and subscribe. That works too. Till we talk again, be good, stay safe. I am Mark. That is Ryan. Bye, Ryan.
See you, folks.
And we'll talk to y'all later.